Hi everyone, I'm Anthony Pastori. Welcome to UBS Trending. Thanks for joining us. UBS has identified a number of moonshot developments in focus areas of long-term investing, such as water scarcity, medical devices, and the space economy. With a broad risk spectrum, however, investors don't need to shoot for the moon for thematic exposure. And that's exactly what I'm going to talk about today with my guest, Michelle Liberty, who is back in the studio with us. Michelle, good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
You were just here talking about the space economy with us, which I kind of rattled off as part of these moonshots, which of course space and the moon not necessarily tied together, right? But of course we know that it's been a challenging environment for investors. The markets have certainly been volatile and uncertain, but especially when it comes to secular growth. But we've seen a number of exciting new developments, which we're going to talk about today, related to the long-term themes. So tell us about a couple of these thematic moonshots.
Sure, it's a good question because, to your point, amid all of this volatility, it was certainly easy to miss some of these developments that happened, in the background that do relate to our long-term investment themes. And the reason I use the word moonshot here is because they all relate to very risky or early stage ideas. But just to give a couple examples, first I'll mention water. And a startup earlier this year actually won an award for their innovative machine that actually creates water from thin air. So
it's incredible, isn't it?
It is incredible. Amazing. And there are some other similar models out there, but this one is known for its efficiency. So that was one cool development. The second thing I'll note, though, is healthcare. We've certainly seen a number of healthcare achievements in recent years, but more specifically, we saw two really interesting trials. The first trial in the US of a brain implant procedure intended to treat ALS. So that was the first time this type of study has been done here in the US. And then we also saw a gene therapy trial kick off in New Zealand that attempts to lower blood pressure. So this is one of the first gene therapy trials we've seen that could potentially treat a much more common illness rather than the rare type of illness they usually focus on. Third thing I'll mention, just briefly, space. You already noted that one. I know we talked about it recently, but we did see NASA intentionally smash into an asteroid, and it was a successful mission, so that's good news as well.
Yeah, that was an absolutely unbelievable video footage to watch as it was happening live, and clearly NASA hit a hole in one because it was a direct hit and something that we never thought could be achievable, right? Including pulling water out of thin air. So this is really the question then. It seems like, of course, given the current volatility in the markets and the environment that we're in, these seem like they might be a little risky, a little too new. So how do you actually feel like these developments fit in with investing today in today's market?
Yeah, it's an important point because these moonshot ideas are certainly very risky, and this is a very tough market for risky ideas. But they're also part of a broader opportunity set, and each of these themes really has a number of ways to invest in them that just span the entire risk spectrum. So something like a brain implant procedure, that's going to be on the risky end of the spectrum. And I mentioned gene editing as well. We often see with these types of pure play healthcare companies, they can get really whipsawed following trial results. So being on the winning end of that can be great, but being on the losing end can be really painful. The good news is, though, you don't necessarily need to focus on these higher risk developments or companies to get thematic exposure. So for something like gene therapies, for the market, for the drugs that are actually on the market already, so not just in the testing phase, but actually for sale, these are made by some of the largest and most diversified pharmaceutical companies in the world. So they're going to have a much steadier earnings profile than a company that's in the early stage research and development phase.
Right, it's a company that might have one product in research and development where, like you said, it's all risk at that point.
Exactly, and a similar dynamic exists for water that I mentioned. So, creating water from thin air is great. That's certainly a good thing. But we don't necessarily need some of these high-tech ideas to put a dent in trying to solve for water scarcity. So if you think about something like infrastructure, which might sound a lot less exciting than something like creating water from thin air. a decent amount of water. So utilities lose 10 to 30% just from pipe leakage alone. So there's some low-hanging fruit for us to grab there in order, again, to start tackling this water scarcity challenge. And the good news, again, there is that we also saw the bipartisan plan that was passed last year does allocate some spending on water infrastructure. So we do see some opportunities there. And again, it doesn't necessarily need to be on the risky end of the spectrum.
Right, so great. So there are investment opportunities for those who maybe feel for their own personal situation it's a little too risky. But what about those investors who maybe have a higher tolerance for risk? Do these moonshot technologies offer these types of investment in other words, can those with a higher risk profile invest in some of these technologies?
There are certainly ways to gain exposure to these earlier stage type of investments. I think the key here is time horizon, because number one, they are risky, to your point, but they also have can have lockup periods, because oftentimes you would access something like this through either a private market opportunity, potentially even an impact investment opportunity. So again, lack of liquidity is something that you need to consider, and quite frankly, you just need to be comfortable with that higher level of risk and high risk of failure as well.
Terrific. Michelle, thank you. Some exciting stuff. And what's crazy is 10 years from now, or maybe less, we'll be talking about pulling water from the air like it happens every day. But we'll remember this first conversation when it was this very new kind of exciting development. So thanks for that, and thanks for the info on the investing side of it as well.
Thanks, Anthony.
Great. Michelle Liberty from the Chief Investment Office. And for those of you who would like more information on anything that Michelle and I talked about today, or any of the other research reports that come out from our Chief Investment Office, visit our website at ubs.com/views. And you can also follow UBS on social media. Lots of content and information on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, you name it. Plus, all of our past UBS trending episodes, just like this one, are available to watch on demand. You can do that at the UBS YouTube channel, as well as our website, ubs.com/studios. And as always, if you have any questions about your own portfolio, please speak with a financial advisor. Until next time, I'm Anthony Pastore. We hope you have a great day, and remember to keep your eyes on what's trending. We'll see you soon.